Welcome to Patscast, the unofficial Regina Pats podcast. I'm Matt.
I'm Chris.
And this is our episode for January the 26th, 2022.
Howe down low, right corner. Nyhoff up top. Evans shoots, scores! Cole Dubinsky in his own zone. Nice move to get around his stick. Up the middle, Connor Bedard. He's on a breakaway. Score! Connor Bedard's got his 20th of the season.
Olsen came to Moose Jaw and he said, "We want you to come and play for the Pats." He said, "Well, why don't you come back down on Friday? We're playing the Swift Current Broncos. You can dress for the game." I got in a fight and I beat the crap out of some guy. And some other guy said, "You can't do that to my buddy." And I beat the crap out of him. And the third guy said, "I might as well throw my hat in the ring." And guess what happened to him?
Well, Chris, it's been a little while, but really, in the whole grand scheme of things, only 2 games to talk about over these however many days it's been for us. Again, dealing with some postponements, but overall, I mean, we can't be too disappointed about what the Pats were able to put together here with not a lot of game action lately, but a couple good ones to talk about here. So let's kick it off with the Calgary game. So this is a little while ago now, but I didn't get to go to this game, but really kind of a really pretty good game to watch on TV at the very least. And it was just an exciting game. Kind of showed some good grit of the Pats. They actually came down, or they were down 3-1 at one point. They did get the first goal, then gave up 3 unanswered, and then came back and tied it up. And it was actually our first game, right? The first game this year that's gone to a shootout.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. Kind of a disappointing. I think everyone was waiting. They were kind of like, "Oh, good, we're going to a shootout. We get to see," and kind of anticlimactic with Bedard's miss and then Dubinsky's fall, and yeah, just didn't really get it together in the shootout. But overall, nice to get a point from a team that we're actually kind of ended up chasing here a little bit in the standings here. So. Like we've been saying this every week, every game is a big one right now, and yeah, if you can get some points out of anything, it's good. So it was nice to claw our way back up and capture a point out of this game.
Yeah, 2 obviously would have been nice. Try to take 1 off of Calgary because, like I said, we're chasing them down. Like every point is pretty key now. Mm-hmm. We're right behind them. Pats are in the 8th spot now. Calgary's 7th, so they're right there. But yeah, like I said, it was a nice comeback and nice to see them, rebound after being down and push it to overtime and ultimately the shootout where you think, okay, well, Pats do have some skill and should be able to put up a good fight. But yeah, just a couple misses and that's the way it goes. I mean, the shootout's a coin flip, right? So you can't take too much away from that.
Yeah. It was, I think I was listening to the broadcast. They did say something about the Pats coming back. I think it was after being down going into the third period or something like that. This was the first time they've done that this season. So, yeah, we're starting to see maybe a bit of character in this team, some resilience come through, which is really nice to start to see. They're going to need that resilience and some of that grit going into this. Well, it's literally the back half of the season now, even though the end of January, we're talking a little bit before we started recording, we've played 34 games, and that's the midpoint of the season. And it's not midpoint of the schedule, though, in that sense, right? So lots of games coming up here and not that long of a time frame.
Yeah, John Paddock referenced that in, I can't remember. Yeah, it was the PA, after the PA game. He said he's been behind the bench for 68 days and they've played 17 games. And he says there's 34 games to go in about that same time frame. So it's twice as many games as they've just played in the same amount of time. So yeah, sure, we've got some games in hand on some of the teams ahead of us, but maybe games in hand aren't the most ideal things right now since the schedule will be quite condensed and it's going to be a really tough road. And plus, quite a few are on the road coming up here soon in February.
Yeah, there is a bit of a road swing going here. I was going to look and see if there's something going on at the Brand Center, but I couldn't. I haven't noticed anything why they're on the road swing, or it's just how the schedule works out. But before we get to that, so PA game last night on January 25th. Kind of being boring in a good way, would you say?
Yeah, it wasn't the most exciting game. The first period was kind of just back and forth, 6 shots each, nothing, no high scoring chances or high quality scoring chances or anything like that. Yeah. There was a penalty each in the first period. Nothing much going on, and then second period, PA really turned with the physicality, and the Pats kind of, they responded and they kind of, I didn't say dominate the period, but definitely took control that second period. PA only had 2 shots, and then get the power play goal kind of later in the period, and then they score another one real late in the period, and kind of just didn't look back from there. The third period kind of just, I don't even say coasted, but cruised through it until PA pulled the goalie with 4.5 minutes to go, and then it was like a 4-minute power play for PA, and they had some good looks, but they couldn't score. So
they were talking about that on the broadcast, the radio broadcast. When PA pulled the goalie, they only got 1 shot in those 4 and some odd minutes.
Really? Only one actual shot on net?
Yes, yeah. Because I guess they had looked at the shot total when they pulled, and it was at 16, and then the game ended up with 17 total shots. They were just talking about, again, some of the character coming through here, guys wanting to block shots to really get that first career shutout for Matthew Keeper, and really laying their bodies out to try and accomplish that for him. So, 17 shots, I know shots can be so misleading and maybe not tell a whole picture, but there's a little bit of a picture here when you're only giving up 17 shots. That's saying something, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And, the third period, it says 9, and I wouldn't have guessed there was only 1 of those 9 in that last 4 minutes. That's actually kind of surprising. Yeah. But, Reese Vitelli, he had a wide open net, and he just whiffed on it and went out the other side.
That was a bad miss. I watched that again, and I watched the highlights again to see that, and I thought, oh man, he's probably
that's at the far end of the rink from where we're sitting, and I thought maybe keeper got his paddle on it or something, because it went out the other side of the net, and I was like, oh man, what a save or something, right? Then they showed the replay, and he just whiffed on it. But the Pats had whiffed on a few shots early in the game too. It was kind of a weird game.
For sure. So you did get a chance to talk to John Paddock after this game, so we're going to listen into that right now.
This seemed like a little bit of a playoff style game tonight. What do you got to do to get the second win there on Friday coming up?
Well, I think it'll be the same kind of game. We have to play, like we would always say, the same way, the right way. Give PA lots of credit. I'm not quite sure if, despite the shots, advantage we had till later in the game when they closed it a little bit, I'm not sure that it felt like we were, automatically going to win. I think that's just what you just said, playoff style game or playoff type game. So those are good things to play in, especially when you win them. You go back when you're in a situation on the road in next week or 10 days, and it's 2-1 for us late in the third. You go back to the things that were successful in this kind of game when we had a little bit of a lead.
Yeah, there's a lot of games coming up on the road. What do you want to see from the team going through that?
Well, we try to play the same way all the time. We're going to need very good goaltending, which we got tonight. But I think the big thing with our potential big thing for our team, and to sort of spark us and let's say turn us around, but keep us on the right path is in getting Nate Solani. We have a really good defense, and this is the best defense we've clearly, and by quite a bit, we've had since the Memorial Cup. And so when you have that kind of veteran experience back in there with Tim and Riker and Big Bates, you should be able to play the game right.
a bit of a bold statement there from him saying, "Hey, best defense since the Memorial Cup." But I don't. Now you think about it, he's not wrong.
Yeah, definitely. You look at with them still holding on to Evans there.
Yeah.
You got Evans and Svozil, your offensive guys, and then them bringing in Salami. I mean, hasn't shown much yet, but he hasn't played much at all this season. So I think it's going to take him a little bit to get up to game speed.
Yeah.
I know there was on one of the power plays, Stanek kind of had it in low, and he couldn't do anything against Stanek. Like Stanek was just kind of strong on the puck, and you think a 20-year-old should be able to handle a younger guy, but he might just need some time to work back into that game shape and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then you got solid guys like Bateman and stuff, and you got some stronger, experienced guys, and yeah, like it is pretty decent decor, right?
Yeah, it was nice to get Svozil back. We were looking at it. So he ended up with a 2-game suspension, and that happened on January 1st. So he hasn't even played any game time since January 1st. So you're looking at a 24-day suspension in a sense. And we look back, his last game with us was December 11th. And then he went off to World Juniors, played a bit there, did a camp, came back, played with us on the first for, 2 minutes? It was like the first shift of the game.
Yeah.
He was out. So he has not seen a lot of game action, WHL game action in a long time. So nice to see that core coming back together. And it's actually maybe, I think we talked about it at the start of the year that the D was actually probably the better, strongest part of this team. And it's starting to materialize now, and we're starting to maybe see those results.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so that's a pretty successful week. I think 3 points out of 2 games, and
yeah, I think that's kind of what we thought.
That's what we hoped for.
Yeah, right. And one other thing I want to mention: the power play still just rolling along.
It really is.
3 against Calgary and 1 against PA.
I know. Teams have to be thinking we got to stay out of the box against them. When you look at it, you got Howe over there just setting up his office at the hash marks there, right? Like, or just in the circle.
In the dot, yeah.
You got Bedard over on the other side. You got, I don't know, you hopefully a guy like Stringer when he's healthy in front of the net. And then Evans and
Nyhoff,
Dubinsky. Like,
yeah.
Whew, it's pretty potent, and it's you don't want to give us too many chances, I think.
No.
That's cool to see. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, the Pats are up to 4th at 25.4%.
Yeah.
So it's pretty good. But one thing last night I noticed, they had 3D out on PP2, which was kind of weird.
Really?
I'm not even sure what forwards were out. Like, Kevin and I were sitting there, we're like, okay, you got Feist.
Yeah.
Okay, you got Svozil, and you got Salami out there. And we're like, oh, they must screw it up, right? But there's nobody yelling from the bench, get off, or whatever. Then it was, again, power play later in the game. And it's like 3D, we're out again. So we're like, oh, that must be a thing. So, yeah, it was weird. So maybe something to keep an eye on next game.
Interesting.
Trying something different. I don't know what the thought behind that is. And I should have maybe asked John about that, but maybe next game we'll see.
Why do you have 3 defensemen on your power play?
Yeah, like there's still enough. They were without Stringer against PA, so there's a guy down. But you still got like Dubinsky, even Spencer. He's a skill guy.
Yeah,
I think you got enough. You can roll 3 forwards and 2D.
Yeah,
right. So, but it is what it is.
Yeah,
interesting. But
okay, well, keeping an eye on that, so we can do that starting on Friday. Another matchup against PA in Regina, and then in Moose Jaw on the Saturday. Should be another good game. Again, like we've said, every game counts a lot here, so we'll hopefully get some points out of this. I think we can take it to PA again.
It's a game you got to win again, right there. They're right behind us in the standings, so you have to win this game.
Moose Jaw, though, I don't know, they racked it up on Edmonton last night, so it might be a tough game. They're not a bad team.
No, yeah, I was surprised to see that. What was it, 8-1 or something, 8-2?
Yeah.
And Costa started. It wasn't like they got the backup
Okay.
starting.
Huh.
So yeah, that's interesting. They went 3-0 on their Alberta road trip. I don't know what other two cities they played
Okay.
in, but they went 3-0. So that's, they're up there into fourth place now.
Yeah, so a hot team,
Yeah.
hot rivalry, so we'll see how that goes. And yeah, it should be a good weekend for them. Okay, some other Pats news. Kind of got maybe released a little ahead of time, but regardless, so former Regina Pat Jordan Wheel named to the men's ice hockey Olympic roster. So that's kind of cool to see.
Nice to see him make the team.
Yeah, I mean, even McTavish from the OHL is
The
on
juniors, yeah.
So we saw that last year with the World Championship team. Who there was a guy from the WHL.
Yeah, they always
Who
seem
was
to
it?
bring a
Anyway.
younger guy along.
Someone from
Kinda.
Brandon. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, what was I listening to? Oh, the radio broadcast last night. They're saying, well, would Bedard have got some talk? And I was like, I really like Bedard, but man, that's a big step. You're playing with like adult men. That would be a big step.
Yeah, definitely. And I kind of had that thought in the back of my mind as well.
Yeah,
I was like, man, I wonder if he got any consideration.
they would
But
have.
yeah,
Come on, they would have looked at the entire World Junior roster and at
for
least
sure.
talked about it.
Right? You look at, Owen Power was the other guy that got picked. He's a big, first overall draft pick. Like he looked good out there at the juniors as well.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, yeah, you're playing against men, like a lot of men.
Yeah.
Like it's not younger guys or whatever, right? It's you're gonna be playing 30-year-olds and stuff like that. But I mean, the roster is big, so how much time are those two guys going to get? I don't know, but they're there, right? So
Yeah. So other Pats news, some sad news, the passing of Clark Gillies. Before mine and your time, so didn't really get to experience him as a Pat, but lots of nice comments and positive comments coming through about his stay here. Even just noticing the picture of him, he just looked huge in that picture of the team, that Memorial Cup team. Must have just been a dominating guy out there.
I mean, he was listed at like 6'3", 210.
Yeah.
As for the Pats.
Yeah, and that's a while ago too. Like now, that's like, that's pretty big, but that would have been big back then. Hey?
Real big, yeah.
And then obviously his very successful NHL career. So the Pats did do a nice little video tribute to him prior to last night's game, which was nice.
Yeah, and one thing I noted, he was number 24 on the Western Hockey League's top 50 players that they did at the 50th anniversary a few years back. So,
Okay.
he was a real solid player, 3 real solid years, and then obviously with the Memorial Cup win.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
I remember, I don't know who posted or tweeted it out or something, but he's like, yeah, lots of people have Stanley Cup rings, but not a lot of guys have a Memorial Cup. Like he was seemed really proud of that one.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, that's anything else you want to go over this week?
No, I think that's about all I had for now. So,
Yeah. Okay, so just a short one this week, folks, and we will come back at you after the PA and Moose Jaw game and get you ready for I think we got one more home game before they head out on their road swing. So
yeah, maybe a Saskatoon game next Wednesday. Maybe we'll see what happens.
maybe, yeah, they're shut down right now. So hopefully we get that game in, and we will see you guys at the rink.
All right, good night.
Good night. Patscast is a proud member of the Saskatchewan Podcast Network. If you're interested in other homegrown podcasts with a wide variety of topics, check out saskpodcastnetwork.com.